Hello everyone. I hope the general concept of circular linked list is clear to you through my last video. This video covers the topics of traversal and insertion in a singly circular linked list. Traversal has to be understood first because for insertion in the middle and at the end, we have to traverse the list to that particular node. So let's get started. So we are first gonna see traversal in the singly circular linked list, as without the traversal we would not be able to perform insertion and deletion operations completely. Then we'll understand the insertion in three ways, which are insertion at the beginning of the linked list, end of the list, and at a particular position. In a circular linked list, we start from the first node and traverse each node. We stop when we once again reach the first node. This is possible because we know that in a circular linked list, the next pointer of the last node stores the address of the first node, which I have already discussed in my video on introduction of circular linked list. Now, if we display the data of a singly circular list while traversing, we'll get the output something like this. So as you can see here, the data of the first node is being displayed again after the data of the last node, because while traversing through a loop, be it a while loop or a for loop, we again reach to the first node and its data is being displayed. So these are the program statements for traversal in a singly circular linked list. Firstly, as always, check if the list is already empty. If it is, terminate the function by displaying an appropriate message on the screen. But if it is not, we'll first assign a temporary pointer, say temp, and assign it the same value as head, which means it should also point to the first node of the list. After that, we'll write a while loop for displaying the data of each iteration, each node. As you can see, the condition for this while loop is different than the ones that we used to write in case of non-circular singly and doubly linked list. Here, the while loop will not terminate when the temp reaches null, which denoted last node for a non-circular list. On the contrary, here it will end when temp again reaches to head, which is the first node, because the next pointer of the last node points to the first node in case of a circular linked list. And inside the while loop, we'll keep displaying the data of each node and shifting the temp to next node. Finally, outside the loop, we'll display the data of temp one more time just to show that we have again reached to the first node. Now let's see insertion at the beginning in a singly circular linked list. So here we have to update three pointers. First, the head pointer should store the address of a new node to be inserted rather than the earlier first node of the list. Second, the new node next should point to the earlier first node, which will become the second node of the list. And finally, the next pointer of the last node should again store the address of the new node, which will be the first node. So these are the C++ program steps to carry out the same. First, create a new node. This declaration of new node and allocating memory part I have already discussed in my earlier videos. After that, store the data that we want to store in this node. Then check for a few conditions like if the list is already empty. If it is empty, then store the address of new node in head pointer, because now the new node will be the first and only node of the list. And because it is a circular linked list, we'll store the address which is in the head pointer to the next of this new node, because the next of the last node of the circular linked list stores the address of the first node, and in this case this new node is the first and the last node. Then there is another condition that there are already multiple nodes present in the list as shown in the image earlier in this video. So now we have to declare a temp pointer and assign it the same value as head. Then in a while loop we'll keep moving the temp to its next node till it reaches the last node. Remember, in case of circular linked list, the condition inside the while loop will be temp next is not equal to head rather than temp next not equal to null. After that, we'll adjust the pointers. First, the new node next should store the address of the current first node, which is still stored in the head pointer. After that, we'll update the address of head pointer. So now head pointer should store the address of new node, which is going to be the first node of the list. And finally, the last node should again point to the first node. Here, the last node is getting denoted by the temp pointer. So we'll update the next of temp equal to head. We can write new node also here in place of head. Now let's learn insertion at the end of the circular linked list. Here we only need to update two pointers. First, the last node next should store the address of the new node instead of the first node, because now our new node will be the last node. And second, new node next should store the address of the first node. Now these are the C++ program steps for insertion at the end. So initial steps are exactly same as insertion in the beginning. Like first we'll create a node and check for the availability of nodes in the list. If it is empty, this node will be the first node and hence we'll store its address in head pointer. But if it is not empty, then first declare a temp pointer same as head, means it should also point to the first node of the list. Then with the help of a while loop, keep moving the temp till it reaches the last node. Now adjust the pointers. First, the last node or the temp should store the address of the new node. And then the new node should store the address of the first node because it is a circular linked list. Now the final insertion operation, insertion at a specific position. This is exactly same as insertion at a specific position in a non-circular singly linked list, which I had discussed in my video traversal and insertion in a singly linked list. Still, let's discuss it one more time. Here, first you have to keep in mind that whether you want to insert the node before or after the position provided by the user. For example, I'm assuming that in this case the user has entered the position 3 to insert a new node. So I'm going to insert a new node after position 2 and hence my new node will be inserted at position 3. Anyways, so here also I will assign a temp pointer, rather two temporary pointers, say temp1 and temp2. One will be the node before the position where I have to insert the new node, and one will be the node after the position where I have to insert the new node. So this temp will point to the node before the specific position, and temp1 will point to the node after the specific position where I have to insert a new node. And finally, we have to adjust the connections. Like this, temp should point to the new node and next of new node should point to temp1. Lastly, we have to see the program steps to insert a new node at a specific position. So as usual, first we'll check whether this is the first node to be inserted in the linked list. I'm not repeating those steps here. You can refer to insertion at the beginning and insertion at the end in this same video for this. Now, first we have to set the temp and temp1 pointers to the previous and next nodes where we have to insert the new node. To begin with, first we'll set the temp pointer same as start, and then in a loop we'll keep shifting its position till we reach the specific position. I have used a for loop here instead of while loop, just to show you another way of traversing the linked list. So this loop will stop at the point where we have to insert the new node, because we have given the condition for I as I is less than position minus 1. So temp will be fixed to the node which is 1 position previous to where we have to insert the new node. And by this statement, temp1 equal to temp next, we'll assign temp1 to the node next to the position where we have to insert the new node. Now we'll do the pointer adjustments. So next of temp should point to the new node, because temp is the node previous to our new node to be inserted, and new node next should point temp1, because temp1 is the node next to the new node to be inserted. Alright, thank you everyone for watching. I hope the concept of inserting a new node in a singly circular linked list is clear to you now. Do subscribe my channel to stay updated about upcoming topics.